Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 of Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver for the Nintendo DS. In the last part we started our magical Pokemon adventure in the brave new world of Johto, or whatever, I don't know. So now we're going to return the Mystery Egg. And what you saw there, I ran into 3 Pidgeys on the way, but obviously you don't want to see that, it's quite boring. You know what a Pidgey looks like, you know what running away looks like from a Pokemon, so yeah, any wild Pokemon encounters that I think are just pointless to see, or just boring, or just it doesn't show any new Pokemon, they're going to get cut out. Although obviously in the future I'll just buy a load of repels, so you won't have to see them anyway. So yeah, we have our first rival battle, because this game mixes things up in a lot of ways with the beginning, or generally actually throughout the game. And one of them is that you can actually have a chance to train up your starter Pokemon for the rival battle. It's not instant, which was really cool back in the day, because I was used to just having to fight Gary straight away. And I didn't even know there was a rival up to this point. And then you just walk along and then this guy's the Totodile, the opposite Pokemon, so of course, you know, he's your rival. And it's needless to say that whatever Pokemon you pick, he steals, because he's stolen this Pokemon, that's why I was outside the lab. He steals the opposite type, so I don't know how he knows. In the first gen, Gary picks the opposite Pokemon because he's an arsehole and doesn't like you. And he's obviously like, well, if Tom's going to pick this one, I'm just going to be a complete dick and pick this one. But in this one, no, it's just, I guess it's just a happy coincidence each time. Just a happy coincidence. Although, he did look through the window, or he was looking into the lab when you picked your Pokemon. So maybe that's it. Maybe he saw which Pokemon you picked and was like, hey, that guy with the dumb hat, he picked that one, I'm going to pick this one. And this is so needless. This is so needless. Pretty much, because you get to name your rival. In the original, you fought the guy, and it just comes up question mark as his name, and then you get to decide it. In this one, it just says passerby boy, which is really weird. And then apparently the excuse for knowing the name is that he gives you his trainer card, or it implies that he's dropped it, so you pick it up and then he's like, oh no, that's my trainer card, now you know my name. So that's how come you know his name, which is so needless, it's so pointless, but whatever, it's a small change. And here's Lyra to make every single part of the game boring and nice. Oh my god, Lyra. Jesus. You know how, if you watch my Pokemon Pearl, you know how I hated Barry? No, I didn't like Barry. Well, I hate Lyra a lot more. Now, I couldn't come up with a name. I couldn't really think of anything in particular. So I thought, what's the most evil thing ever? And that's Satan. So the guy's now called Satan, because, you know, I could call him Hitler. Hitler's an evil dude, or was anyway. I don't think he's still going with whatever he was doing. But Satan, oh, he's really evil. Because this guy, this rival, is probably it's not the best rival, but it's the second best. And it's definitely like the right direction for a rival, because he's actually a rival for good reason. So yes, in the original, Lyra didn't come and save your ass, because the policeman obviously doesn't accuse you, because why would he? Ugh, dear. But no, they added that in. And I mentioned last part how Professor Elm says, like, oh, it's an egg, it's just going to be another egg. Because in the original it was a revelation, so that's why he went backwards. But in this one he goes backwards anyway, even though it's like, he's like, oh, it's an egg, but it's a mysterious egg, or something. So, yeah, that's spooky. But yeah, so he goes back for no reason. For no reason, he just goes flying back in shock. So, I don't know, it's just a bit silly. But it's still a very cool opening. Although I don't think this opening's nicer than the original. Because in the original versions, it wasn't a happy opening. But of course they added in Lyra, so it didn't seem so... not depressing, because it wasn't a depressing opening. But somebody stealing a Pokemon... like, in the Pokemon world, that's a pretty big deal. Someone just taking one and then using it to be really strong. That's a pretty big deal. They hype up Pokemon of being friends and all that, so that's a pretty big deal. So, of course, they had to have Lyra be like, hey, hi, and all that stuff. And for some reason, don't ask why, but they replaced the guy who teaches you how to catch Pokemon with her, But the difference is that the guy doesn't force you to do the tutorial. I'm pretty sure you can skip it. He's insistent, but you can still say, no, I know how to catch a Pokemon. But Lyra, no, Lyra doesn't care. Lyra's like, nope, we're doing it. Watch me have a Marill, a Pokemon that's really cool and that you want. Catch this Rattata. And they even have the cheek to have a joke. Like, she does it and then you didn't see it, so she does it again. But yeah, in case you don't know, this is how you catch a Pokemon. It's pretty obvious. You don't have to see it, really. Someone just has to tell you. I mean, I guess this generation has a more of an excuse of showing you how to do it, because in the first gen, but like the professor tells you, or Oak tells you about the Pokedex and catching Pokemon and all that kind of stuff, so you can kind of make the assumption that you need Pokeballs to catch Pokemon, and that's something you're going to do. But this one, I guess you can't assume that as much, but it's still silly. And that's the first time you can have Pokeballs, because if you go to the mart before this, they're just out. Or I don't think this mart sells them, or the one in Cherry Grove just doesn't sell Pokeballs at all. Although I'm pretty sure it's actually that they're out of Pokeballs at the time, and then if you go there now, they're going to have Pokeballs. But you get given 5 Pokeballs, so you don't have to go buy some. Not really. You don't really need that many. Unless you just like have really bad luck and plan to catch every single Pokemon. Which I'm going to throw out there, I don't plan to complete the Pokedex. Definitely don't plan to do that. So after some thinking and all that, or after seeing a Pidgey that was level 4, I thought I'll catch one. So yeah, Pidgey is going to be one of my squad members, which I think is pretty nice, pretty cool. Because, I mean, I really like Pidgey. Pidgey is just a really good standard Pokemon, and it's nice to just not have to worry about having a flying type, you know? It's just it's just nice to have a flying type. And Pidgey, especially when it evolves, I think it has really high attack, maybe? Or either way, when it has Fly, once you teach it Fly, it becomes so powerful that it's always worth having. And yes, I called it Hawkins because Pidgey, flying type, bird, hawk, Stephen Hawkins. So that's the process there. Because I can't think, I'm not good with coming up with names. Back in the day, I used to be really good at coming up with stupid nicknames. And I actually played Worms Ultimate Mayhem with a mate the other day because we were bored. And coming up with nicknames was hard. It's not as easy when you're older, you're just not as imaginative. Or the stuff that you find funny isn't quite giving a worm a silly nickname or a Pokemon a silly nickname. I guess that your humour evolves beyond that. I still managed to come up with some good stuff, but you know. So now here's the embarrassing part, right? So now I have a level 4 Pidgey. I wanted a certain type of Pokemon. I'm going to say it. I wanted a Caterpie. Because I think Butterfree is really cool. Butterfree is actually surprisingly good. I know in my Emerald LP I tried to show that bug Pokemon can be really good and failed miserably at that. But seriously, I do like bug Pokemon, they're pretty decent. And Butterfree is a really good one because it can learn Psychic and Psychic attacks. But I spent so long in this patch of grass trying to find one, forgetting of course that this is one version of the game, and of course Heart Gold, like in each version there's different Pokemon. Completely forgot about that, because that's something that they haven't taken away, but it's less of a focus. Like originally that was a really big focus, that there was different types of Pokemon to catch. So I spent ages looking for a Caterpie, finally looked it up and realised that I could only catch a Weedle. So yeah, I won't be adding Caterpie to my squad, unfortunately. And I really spent so long in that patch of grass before realising, because I assumed that you could catch Weedles and Caterpies in both versions, which wasn't the case. But the thing is, I'm pretty sure I had Pokemon Silver back in the day, and I had a Caterpie or a Butterfree. I'm pretty sure that happened. So I don't know if I'm just remembering it wrong as a kid, or if they switch which Pokemon is in which version for this, but either way, no Caterpie. But yeah, I had to cut out like 20 minutes worth of footage there, because also I trained up Pidgey a bit. Because that's another good thing about Pidgey. Pidgey is actually starts off pretty strong. Like if I had caught that Caterpie is a pain to train. I mean, it's good that it evolves at level 7 to Metapod, because up to that point it's such a pain. It just takes forever. But no, Hawkins is pretty decent, and it didn't take that long to get to level 7. Or one thing I did that you just saw, because I sped up one of the wild battles is if you find a Kakuna, or a Metapod if you're playing Hot Gold, it can only use Hardened. But because it's an evolved Pokemon, you get a good amount of XP for it. Because one thing I found with this generation has the slowest beginning. We only just stopped the tutorial. Even in the original one it was a slow beginning, or in terms of the tutorial. Because Lyra's showing us how to catch a Pokemon is the end of the tutorial, where that's when you're let off the leash and you can do whatever you want. And it just takes forever. But it's not too much of a big problem, but of course with this being the 4th gen it's all a bit slower than it was in the original. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that I always have a hard time training up Pokemon, or this generation is the one that I spend the longest having to train up Pokemon at the beginning. The other generations I can get away with doing very little. You know, if I catch a level 3 Pokemon, train it to level 5, and then just use trainer battles. But this one I always have a hard time for some reason, or it takes longer than expected. Which is why it also took 20 minutes to realise that I couldn't find a Caterpie, because I was also training up my Pokemon. And I really don't know why it is. It's just, I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, or what generation you guys watching feel is the hardest to train up Pokemon or get a decent squad of Pokemon. Because at the moment I only have 2 Pokemon, so obviously it's not that hard to get them to high levels, but I don't know, there's just something about it, something about this generation. But it's not a complaint, it's just more of an observation. But it is quite funny how some people complain about the tutorial of other generations when this one has the slowest beginning to it. This one is the slowest. You spend so much time messing around before you actually can go and do stuff. But I guess it doesn't feel like a tutorial as much as the other ones do. But like in the 3rd gen, you can just, all you have to do is go up, talk to May and come back down, and that's the beginning. You can do whatever you want after that. And then in the 1st gen, obviously you go up to the Mart and come back, and then you're off the leash. This you go to Cherry Grove, to the Mr. Pokemon, to Cherry Grove, back again, and then you can go. But again, just an observation, not really a complaint. Yeah, I'm not sure why I didn't cut out this wild battle, but yeah, pretty much you can see that this is just another Kakuna. And now that Pidgey, okay, it takes forever if your Pokemon's weak to kill Kakuna, because eventually you're only going to be doing 1 damage, but it's worth doing. No matter what, you're going to be spending a lot of time training your Pokemon at the beginning, no matter what, so yeah. So yeah, this is the first proper route. It was kind of cool that the first trainers at the beginning aren't just bug catchers, because something that you might have noticed, but in the 1st gen it's just bug catchers, that's it. You start off, you fight Gary twice and then it's just bug catchers until you fight Brock. But this is kind of cool because it keeps the bug Pokemon in, which is nice. They have bug Pokemon because they're the weakest, so obviously when you're starting the game, if you're new to it, you want to be fighting weak Pokemon. But they also have like Rattatas, and yeah, they have youngsters as well, so I mean, I like this route. I think it's quite a good intro to it, really. Oh, I can't really complain about it. So I should probably mention that I won't be showing every Pokemon you can catch in each route. And it's something I try to do in the other LPs, but it's kind of really hard to do. Especially because in the more recent games like this one, it's a pain. It's a complete pain. If you just look on Bulbapedia, you can see each Pokemon that you can catch. And I had a quick look for this route, and it's ridiculous how many you can catch, but it's by really awkward means. It's like that I can catch a Rattata in this route if I wait until night. And there's another Pokemon called Libra, which is a ladybug Pokemon, or ladybird Pokemon. I mean, I'm British, so I should say ladybird, but whatever. Yeah, there's ladybird Pokemon, which back in the day, it was like my favourite Pokemon. I was obsessed with bugs when I was younger because I was a weird kid, I guess. And when I saw that there was going to be a ladybird Pokemon, I was like, oh, that's mine, I'm catching that. But then I thought it was in this route and I couldn't find it, and the reason I couldn't find it is because you have to play it in the morning because there's a clock system. So yeah, if you want that Pokemon, you have to play it in the morning and catch it. Although I was let down when I did get up in the morning, especially to play it, or before school, caught it, trained it up, which takes forever because it's a bug Pokemon, and realised it's not very good. That was definitely a big crushing blow for me as a child. Like, it's really cool looking Pokemon. Oh, I think it is anyway. I don't think many people would agree with me. But Ledbra or Libra, I'm going to say Libra, is a Pokemon you can catch if you want it. You can also, a little tip, if you go back to that route, you can catch a Spearow. If you go back to the first one and go north of that. So, if you know what I'm talking about, then, yeah, you've probably played this game before. And this is another thing that makes this route cool. There's a dark cave here. But you can't access it there. Yeah, it's just here. And you don't need to access it at all. It's just there if you want to explore it, which I think is such a cool idea. It just makes the world feel a lot more open, and you can come if you want. If you don't want to, just don't bother though. So yeah, and I remember at the beginning, because back when I first played the original, I never came in here. I never saw any point. You didn't have to come in here for the story or to progress. This is just a cave to explore, so I never came in here. But now, you know, playing this one, I don't think I'm going to explore it in this LP, because I can't remember what's in it. But in case you're wondering, I'm here because I'm going to catch this Geodude. I always like to start with 3 Pokemon at the beginning before the first gym. I don't have to, you know. You can get by just fine with 2. You can just about get by fine with 4 if you're really obsessive. But I find 3 is the right amount. You know, it's nice to train early. So yeah, I'll be catching my Geodude, so that will be the 3rd party member. And then, I'm not too sure what the 4th one's going to be, but yeah, these are going to be my 3. So, got Cyndaquil, Pidgey and Geodude. So, I always avoided catching one, although I'm running out of time here, so I'll talk about it a bit more. So I'm going to call it E-Rock. So next time in Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver, we're going to finish off this route and hopefully reach Violet Town, or Violet City, where we'll be doing some more stuff. So don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.